from the secret files of Teletraan 2.
Hello everyone, and it is time for comics. It's a bold new era, as the comics keep telling me, because it's on the top. It's about the 20th anniversary of IDW, and it is the beginning of a new Transformers universe. Will this continue on for years to come? Will this be another one of those miniseries, and we get a series of one-shots that basically devolve into Hearts of Steel? I don't know. We've got 6 months to test it. And with me today is young Andrew Malmin.
Malmin?
Yeah, I was trying to like Malmin.
Right.
Malmin.
What are you going for?
You are Malmin.
I don't know if this is a reference to something. Is it?
No, I'm Millman Malmin. I've got a doctorate.
I'm a doctor. I was listening to Transmissions today, and it was the episode where they mocked you for only having one doctorate, while Charles has two.
Yeah, what? The episode. Yeah, the episode that happened. Apart from all the other ones that happens.
Yeah.
Which is mostly just about just making Charles uncomfortable. That's the secret thing about it.
I mean, they're not saying you're lazy, but...
No.
You know, you only have one. And what's better than one?
I'm just going to say it this way. 2 doctorates only works if you get paid twice the amount when you do it the second time. And most people don't, and I doubt Charles did either. He's overcompensating.
Damn.
It doesn't make you more or anything. It just basically means you couldn't get a job at first and went back to do another PhD.
No, it makes him...
Said it.
Doesn't it make him an SDR? A super doctor.
Bloody STD at this stage. But...
Oh, whoa! Was that you throwing a basketball into a hoop there, Mikey? Nothing but rim.
I know you're listening to this, Jeremy. I don't. The others might be listening to it as well, but you're the only one I know is paying to listen to it, so pass it on. But yes, it is time for the news story. We're going to be covering each of the 2 issues that have come out, and unless another book comes out, we're going to stick to this rotation of 2 issues per month until for the first 6 months, and then we're going to see where we are after a year's worth of storing, more or less.
Yeah. Do we know if any side Transformer comics are going to pop up, like miniseries, or is it just going to be focused on the main book in quotations for however many issues and then maybe spread off, or is it just going to be the main series and that's it, nothing else?
All we know so far is that there's going to be 12 issues of this story. We don't know what goes on beyond that.
Right.
And the only side material we know of that's coming out so far is Ghostbusters vs. Transformers. So at the moment, this universe is very core... in the Brian Ruckley stories.
Okay. Interesting.
So this book has almost an entirely new creative team. I'm a little disappointed it doesn't have a completely new creative team, in honesty. I love Joanna. She's a lovely, wonderful, talented lady. But if you're going to go all out, go all out. And Tom's back, and no one likes Tom Belong.
Oh, damn.
He's just terrible people.
You just got a Gatling gun in hand mowing motherfuckers down today, Mikey. Jesus. No fucking mercy.
I've never had a reference in one of his comics, so to sit there one day, just a sarcastic comic letterer comic with me in the background, just like, hey, Irish. He's a lovely man. I
hope if you appear in this comic, you're dressed up in full green attire.
Or riding a small horse. But yeah, so the creative team is Brian Ruckley. Brian has written a comic called Rogue Trooper, which is one of IDW's 2000 AD licensed books. I haven't read it yet. I'm planning to, because I want to get a wide... I do this with every author who comes on who's got other work. I try to read at least one other book they've done to give myself a vibe.
That's the blue guy, isn't it, from those stories, right?
I honestly have no idea. My 2000 AD knowledge goes ABC Warriors, Flesh, especially Flesh, and Judge Dredd. Flesh is great, by the way. The artist is Angel Hernandez. He's another one of those sort of IDW stable artists. And joining him is Keshette Whitman. I'm probably murdering these names. I've heard it called Anuel. But I can't say that without wanting to say Manuel from Faulty Towers.
Mm.
And I think that makes me a monster.
Yes,
So,
I would agree.
So we will be calling them Hernandez and Whitman for the moment, until someone corrects me. It's the Sarah Pietà Duache thing all over again, or the Priscilla Tramontano thing all over again. So yeah, this is a completely new main core team. For the rest of the books, the art duties will be divided up between both of them. It looks like they're going to be sticking to sort of their segments. So Hernandez does the Rubble and Bumblebee stuff. And Whitman takes care of the Optimus Megatron stuff. Reading that. Yeah, edited by David Mariotti, and Tom Waltz is on this as an editor as well. I'm not familiar with him, he's new. And of course, editor-in-chief and head publisher, whatever he is, are John Barber and Chris Ryle, so it's nice to see some familiar names. As one sitting there just... I wonder if he's taken down his wall.
Maybe.
Like, do you think there's just, like, all these post-it notes in, like, John Barber's bin?
I think they've been just shifted to the cave.
Yeah. They told him to get rid of it, and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm totally taking it down. Totally taking it down. You're going to be saved for later.
Yeah, just in case, because you never know.
Yeah. God damn it, we've got a continuity fix we need to sort out. Door gets kicked in. I live! You're our boss. You've been alive for some time. And he just runs out. Live! John's great. I love John. So let's get into it. The book opens with newly forged Transformer Rubble scaling a mountain while there is narration from the works of Termagax. Is that her name?
I'm going to go with, yeah, that sounds about right.
Termagax, yeah. Rubble climbs up into a landscape showing that the sort of the layout of the planet, new sort of visual setting, so to speak. It's difficult in some ways to know where to start with this, because this is actually my favorite page of the whole book.
What, the double spread landscape shot?
I think it shows potential, but it also shows things like multiple suns and multiple moons. Bumblebee basically says that Rubble needs to stop admiring stuff or they will literally never get going anywhere. And Rubble, being young and tiny, runs down the hill like a large child. They're going to meet Brainstorm, and they're going to sort of... Rubble seems to be going through sort of a rite of passage, which is he doesn't even have an alt mode yet. He's only recently forged. He hasn't picked an alt mode yet, so it's kind of an alternate version of Functionism. And he's sort of going through various jobs and experiences so he can kind of find out where he belongs in life.
That's nice.
So they're going through the landscape. Rubble's first time outside the city. Bumblebee's kind of like very indulgently going like, yeah, everything's great. Yeah, everything's new. We're walking this way now. But right now we need to go to Transmission Station, and Brainstorm can introduce you to Energon Engineering. Lucky you! Oh, he doesn't seem impressed. Rubble refuses to not have one more look. He climbs over a cliff and falls down. After Bumblebee says, is my voice box malfunctioning? Heyo! And Bumblebee really gives off the vibe of someone who would like to be somewhere else, please. Rubble wakes up with an unusual ape-like creature with sort of a space octopus in a jar attached to his head.
Yeah, like it's attached by a little wire to the monkey's head, which is odd.
Rubble introduces himself. The octopus says he's a small Cybertronian. And as Bumblebee crests the cliff looking for him, Windblade shows up and opens fire on the Monkey Man and his friends. And she calls them Voin Scavengers. Windblade introduces herself to Rubble. He then introduces her to Bumblebee, which is like, oh, yeah, we've met. And Windblade's a little like, so, introducing him to that lot. That's good mentoring. And Bumblebee's just like, Rubble is more trouble than he's worth. And he's enjoying introducing himself to everything from aliens to gravity. So she's heading the same way, and she decides to tag along to Brainstorms. Rubble is very excited by this, and Rubble's generally excited by life, the universe, and everything in it. Windblade and Bumblebee play some catch-up, and Windblade notes that there's some anomalies from the monitoring station, so it's possibly sabotage, and Bumblebee wonders if it's the Rise, whoever that is. Windblade's not sure, but she's going to check it out, and she's sort of hoping that Rubble's enthusiasm can take a few dents. Meanwhile, in a city, a group of protesters called the Ascenticons are rallying in Termagax's name with a big flag. Optimus is looking over them, and they are heading towards Tarn. He's a little... he's not really happy about this particular rally and is sort of worrying that these guys are going to end up somewhere a lot worse than Tarn. Ironhide shows up and says that Optimus's appointment is here. And he sort of inquires on the mood, and Ironhide says... Comparable to the time Prowl was stuck under a collapsed pylon for 10 cycles, half his rescuers requested esteem reinforcement counseling afterwards. 2 of them can still not be around him without their joints freezing. So basically, yeah, that's how bad this is going to be. He's also not happy because he should be leading the rally to Tarn. Ironhide's a little cautious about leaving them together, but Optimus is like, Ryan rather, is like, we're both senators and we're both friends. We can have a conversation. And in comes Megatron, who is covered in holes. We'll get onto that later. And Megatron is not in a good mood. He's like, I don't appreciate being summoned. And they have an odd handshake, but hey, space. And Orion says, you weren't summoned, I asked you here. And they basically start a back and forth about... Orion wants to know what he intends to say at his speech for the rally in Tarn, and how many people are going to be left injured afterwards. Can he postpone it? Can he put it off? And Megatron's refusing. And the last Decenticon rally left dozens injured, and people still haven't been fixed. And basically, it comes down to Megatron is a senator, but he seems to be of a different class level than Optimus. Or Orion, sorry. And he is fighting for the changes he believes are necessary. Orion believes that this is just exaggerations for an audience that is used to basically nodding and smiling along. And a rather tired-looking Optimus is just like, could you at least tell me what you're going to say? Am I going to disagree with it, or should I have security teams ready by the time you're finished talking? And Megatron simply goes like, we're hoping for the former, Orion, but I leave the questions of control to you. And the Ascenticons don't have as much experience as the Autobots. And Megatron walks out, elbowing Ironhide as he goes. And yeah, not a success. Prowl under a pylon more or less sums it up. Back with Rubble, he is enjoying seeing the luminescent liquid in Cybertron, being reminded it's a living planet. And he's like, oh, I can see in the dark. And Bumblebee turns on his lights and says, yes, we can all see in the dark. They discuss the fact that he hasn't really settled down on an alt mode, and that his life is open to any possibilities. He can go in any direction he really wants or feels he may fit into. So yeah. And we also find out that Bumblebee wasn't always a mentor to people like Rubble. He was in the security forces at some point, and he left for unknown reasons. But yeah, Rubble's sort of thinking things change. And he sees a moving star, a shooting star. And it turns out that's not a star, that's a Titan. And apparently above Cybertron, the Titans are in a dormant state, floating around, basically acting as space guns. If anything gets too close to the planet, they'll turn around and open fire. They haven't basically woken up for 10 megacycles. So it's a very peaceful planet. The trio head to the transmission station, and Bumblebee says, like, Brainstorm's not as bad as I've been making him out. It's just like, he's brainstorming boring. Windblade notices that things are off. She draws her weapon and starts looking around. Rubble starts hearing a sort of a zik sound. And, Tom at it again. And he thinks, is that Brainstorm? And he goes over to have a look. And, Brainstorm, are you okay? And we see Brainstorm lying there, missing an arm, his side ripped open, and he's turned grey. And he is decidedly not okay.
Is he not okay?
No.
He's not going to make it.
He's just sleeping. You're just sleeping, Commander Shani Sats. You're just sleeping. One Family Guy joke I've heard more than any. Don't ask me why. Andy.
Mikey.
We will talk about the art, and I definitely want to hold off on that.
Okay.
But this is our first introduction to this world, to Ruckley, and I think this might be the first full-on murder mystery in Transformers.
That can't be true.
Like,
That
they've
can't be
done
true.
Who Killed Who before, but this is being portrayed as this is, Poirot will be involved at some point. Like, Agatha Christie's in here.
I wish there was a robot Poirot. That would be amazing.
Poirot. Hello. It is pronounced Poirot.
That's him.
Yep. Hercule Poirot. What do you think?
It's a slow start, but it was always going to be because they've got a lot to set up, I suppose. I like the idea, I suppose, of like you get a child and you're like, okay, here's job experience that you could do anything. Like, you can literally be anything. You choose what you want to do. Do you like this? No. Do you like this? No. Do you like this? No. What happens if they don't like anything?
I believe that's what we call bum.
Well, I like to imagine that there was they get taken to Kaon, and the Kaon's just like, oh well, these are the smelting pools. What happens here? Just have a look. Look, do you see it? Push. Start again. We'll have a new one.
Bumblebee's done this like 7 times.
We'll find someone useful. They'll have a job. So it's hard to judge the first issue too harshly, just because it does have a lot of setup, and it's got a weight. It's got so much to establish, especially starting off an entire new universe. Prowl sounds very similar to the previous Prowl, though. I guess that's kind of my problem, that a lot of these characters seem very similar to how they've always been, and they're not really. They don't seem currently that different, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'd say Optimus, in a way, is the most different. Optimus and Megatron. And I think part of that is the sentence structure, because for me, unfortunately, they've gone into the I do not use contractions for both of them, which is something that is pulled very often these days, and only really, like, the only one of the two of them who ever makes it work for me is Megatron, because usually Megatron's got more of a performance behind him. Yeah. So I'm hearing modern Peter Cullen talking, and that's never a besmirch on Mr. Cullen, but it's
that's a besmirching on the directing script he's usually given.
Yeah, like, why can't he say I've or you'd or something like that? You do. I have. Like, you don't need to say that, especially when everyone else around you is using contractions. Like, but on the other hand, I like one of the things that Ruckley has said several times is that this is going to be a human story, and I think that does come across here.
Do we know? We don't know yet why Megatron wants to set off these rallies, do we?
No. Issue 2 hints at something.
Yeah.
Like, but as right now, like, we don't know. Like, is there a bias class system here that is sort of like, oh well, it's all shiny on the surface until you imagine it, or is it like Megatron is someone who thought he deserved more than he was given?
Because at the moment, if that's the case and it is similar to the previous IDW, then I would say it's not as good of a starting point for Megatron, because Megatron's starting point, even though it wasn't the best written at the time, Megatron Origins, him starting off as the lower class, as the beaten down person who's like, no, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than him being a senator and
that's
potentially
what I find
doing
interesting. Like, it's not often, like, he talks there like, oh well, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, Optimus, and or I keep calling him Optimus.
Potato. He becomes Optimus.
And Optimus, Prime just sort of goes like, we were born a day apart, dude.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're a senator on any background, you're more privileged than everyone around you.
Yeah, certainly.
So it's really difficult for me to feel like he's, without knowing more about the Decenticons, which I like the fact it's a different group.
For now.
Yeah, like, eventually they will. Andy, I think he's going to be wearing purple at some point.
You what?
You fool! But I like the idea that he is, maybe that, like, he's the upper class person who feels he has a cause, while everyone else are people who have problems, who are looking for that intellectual leader, which is something that does happen in real world, you know?
Sure, yeah.
But something I do like is the general tone of the world around them. Like, the idea of like a bunch of organics wandering around Cybertron, like, and not like, oh, where did these come from? It's just like, nope, these are people we expected. They shouldn't be here. I'm turning on my light and freaking them out.
But how do they exist?
Presumably, like, this Cybertron has an atmosphere.
I assume so, but being organics, you would assume that they need
Food.
Food and some sort of fluid. One would assume. You make these preconceptions because they are drawn very much to be like apes.
Yeah.
So you kind of associate that they need to have certain facilities for them to work as organic beings. Maybe that's supplied by the giant orb with the squid in it. I don't know.
So one spoiler I've seen from an interview is that the Voin is the guy in the ball.
No, yeah, I assume that.
They're not technically, like, they're clones or some sort. They're artificially grown.
Right.
So, and we're going to see other species on Cybertron. Like,
okay.
It's an intent that this is a more diverse world. And I wonder if that plays into something from issue 2.
Okay.
Which I'll touch upon. What do you think of, like, what I'm assuming is going to be our core group? Bumblebee, Rubble,
Mikey.
and Windblade.
Oh, no, Mikey.
Oh, yes, Andy.
Is this the GoBots comic, but from the Cybertronian perspective?
Oh, my God.
We'll get on to that with issue 4 for the Patreon section. But is that this? Did they blow it up, Mikey?
You blew it up. But what do you think of him?
Of Rubble himself.
Who I keep wanting to say her because
the
you
lips.
have a very feminine face.
Yeah, drawn with some very pouty lips.
It's like, especially with Bumblebee and Windblade looks more like you.
Yeah.
Except in some panels, but we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your takeaway from Rubble? Like, you can't really say much about Bumblebee and Windblade because they're kind of a light version of Bumblebee and Windblade.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the fact that B seems snarkier than normal. But baby Rubble, what do you think?
Baby Rubble seems to just be... They're meant to be us, I feel, in a way, to be in wonder of this new world and not know much about it and have to learn about it. Currently, there's not much, apart from enthusiasm, there's not much to Rubble bar that just yet because it's only been one issue and it's not an issue dedicated to them as a character. So light, simple. What about yourself?
I think they suffer from being a POV character.
Yeah.
Because we are literally seeing it through their eyes in some places. And it feels like Rubble is lost in the mix of this is how this world works. These are, like, Rubble scenes are essentially a series of this is what is different from the original universe.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess the counter has to exist, though, in a sense.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's bad, and I think it's a good narrative tool.
Yeah.
But it does mean the character of Rubble has... all we get, really, is that Rubble is a little enthusiastic and kind of innocent.
Mm-hmm. You've never seen that in a series that's just starting up?
No.
Never.
No. I'm sure they will make it through this without being disillusioned. Or dead.
Yeah. It's fine.
But I think there is good world... Like, I think there is good world building here. Which makes kind of sense to me because Ruckley is primarily a sci-fi author, a novel author.
Okay.
And like... or is it fantasy? Fantasy, he's fantasy. And, that's a genre that requires world building. So I think you can see that. And I think the POV nature of Rubble especially kind of gives you that background. So he's newer to comics, and I think you can see more of his literature, his written page influence than his comic influence. Although apparently he is a massive comic nerd. Like, yeah. Anything else in the actual writing you want to comment on?
I don't think so. It didn't really strike me, and I'm not good at picking out them fancy words. I'm usually just absorbing the story as I can. Was there anything that stuck out to you? Is that what you asked, or were you just poking me for insight that you might not have seen?
Not like that's the thing. Like, it is very, very first issue.
Yeah, that's the problem with it, and you can't. I have a feeling a lot until maybe the halfway point will feel like that for this series.
Yeah. I will say, like, I really like the idea of a murder mystery. Like, if this is done properly, because I've always said that Transformers should be a bit broader in the genres it touches on.
Do you not feel, though, that it's going to very quickly span out from being the murder mystery to the Decepticons' rise, effectively?
Yes, I was about to follow that up with, I'm not so sure about using this kind of story as an introduction to your universe.
Yeah, you know it's going to be, though.
Yeah, but, like, if this is the kind of story I would have liked as its own standalone, and then have your political world-building story at the side, like, oh, Rubble and everyone else here, and then have, like, oh, murder, and now here's a 6-issue miniseries focusing on the murder, because the murder is only important in one context. We don't need to solve it here. Or something like that, you know?
Yes.
I do I do have a little concern, like, it's just going to be, okay, it's more important that Megatron turns. But yeah. I was debating whether we should touch this or not, but I think we should.
Okay.
So, this issue led to what I would call kind of an overreaction from people.
Oh, that. Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
With Ruckley getting a lot of messages on Twitter and such, and he has been accused of homophobia, he has been accused of burying the gays, and he has been accused of just being ignorant. He actually issued an apology because while he has read More Than Meets the Eye to a point, he stopped purposefully. He's only reads trade like years after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And once he knew he was on this book, he stopped reading because he didn't want it to influence him.
That makes sense. That's not a bad idea.
By the sound of it, he doesn't know Megatron as the Autobot beyond the fact that IDW has told him Megatron turned an Autobot.
Yeah.
So, which I think is good.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. Because then there should be no influence, hopefully, by that measure.
But it also means that he seems to have been unaware of the story, or Brainstorm travel back in time to try and save his one-sided crush. And people have been saying that this is a lot of people actually on various sides of the debate have reacted by saying they feel this is someone killing off a gay character to make a point. Now, I'm going to open this up. I am a cisgendered, heterosexual, white male in Ireland who genetically is literally whiter than anyone you have ever met. That's not an exaggeration.
You keep throwing this out, Mikey.
Yeah, but it's a good thing to point out because it's just like I realize the position I'm in when I'm saying these things.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, 98% white Irish from the local area. That shouldn't even be physically fucking possible. It's weirder that there's Nigerian in there as well. Where the fuck did he come from? But so I feel this is people who have come on in the middle of the IDW run and who have never had to deal with the fact that for Transformers reboots, it's not like a DC reboot. It's not like a Marvel reboot. These are not your characters anymore. That is not your brainstorm. Literally. It's a brainstorm. And I would also say, like, saying, oh, you've killed the gay character is grossly underselling the previous continuity. Because, I mean, if we're going to use really limiting terminology, they were all gay. Like, the great thing about Brainstorm is by the time it was introduced that he was in love with Quark, and by the way, stalking Quark, because Quark wasn't interested, that it wasn't remarkable, that no one gave a shit at the time, because, oh well, like, another Transformer is attracted to someone of the same gender. Woo. No one cares. And it's very strange to me to have the whole thing deconstructed into Brainstorm had the moment on screen, so therefore he is the gay. When, broadly speaking, he's asexual. Or agendered, or whatever it is. So yeah, I think people are really overreacting to it. Do you have any thoughts?
Transformers has always been like a changing thing, you know, characters and whatnot from G1 to Beast Wars to the Unicron trilogy, so for this character to be different than he wasn't a huge surprise to me, or, you know, at least that's how I saw it. There was no reason to assume that he was gay or was that way inclined at all, you know. So I don't know. It didn't bother me. I kind of looked at it and went, whatever. And that's more the reaction rather than Brainstorm being dead in the comic. In the comic, I was like, oh, Brainstorm's dead. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, like, especially since, like, up until a couple of years ago, no one really cared about Brainstorm.
If I have to get over the fact Skyquake was killed, then you have to suck it up and get over the fact that Brainstorm's dead. Come on.
He died in the first couple of pages, Andy.
Yeah, I know. Like,
He died in the
first
preview.
three pages?
That was the preview for issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
He died.
None of my toys, none of the toys that I loved as a kid survived that book.
No, to be fair, very few toys anyone loved as a kid survived that book.
No, it's true. It's true. But specifically my toys, Mikey.
Oh, dear. Skyquake Day. He might, maybe he's alive again. Maybe he's here.
Well, of course he will be, because it's a
shows
new
up
universe.
and he's like, oh god, his limbs are falling off. Why? Oh, the golden bits are cracking. No! And he dies like the second he comes on screen. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the story. Let's talk about the art. So Hernandez handled the Rubble stuff, and Whitman handled the Optimus Megatron stuff. Let's talk about the first one you meet. So Hernandez's work, Andy.
Yes.
What you think?
So this is the first artist, right? The Rubble person. Not a fan. Don't like it at all.
Not a fan.
Not at all. Do not like it. I hate the fact that most of the time the robots go off model. There's inconsistency in Bumblebee's face sometimes. Like, he has the weird vents on the side of his face at the beginning of the comic, and then in the later parts of the comic, they're not there. And I think that's a draw distance thing. But when they're so pronounced in close-up shots, in the first half of the comic, it became really noticeable that when they weren't drawn in. The fact that it goes off models so quickly on so many times, like, they're not consistently shaped, and the proportions go wonky really quickly. The monkey things seem to be done better, but I think that's probably because they're organic, so they can have a bit more fluidness to their shape, rather than robots who are made of squares and things that don't change shape, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Because the Transformers joke, ho ho ho.
Ho ho!
Yeah, so I can't say I'm a fan of it at all. The landscape shot was nice, but I'm not sure if that was mainly Joanna's colouring. It might be the colouring.
I think I like the shot independent of the colouring. And I kind of wish there was more colour to it, to be honest.
The shot may be fine, but is it really that like, if you just made that black and white, would it really have the same impact? Or would you just be like, well, that's a lot of flat ground?
It would need a lot of shading.
Yeah, because I think you could, like, with the amount of, what's it called, scenery and stuff we've had in games like War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, you know, we've seen Cybertron with vast different landscapes, and here it is just flat. It's pretty much flat with just a city with one or two or three tall buildings in the background. To me, doesn't strike me as desperately interesting, especially when you compare that, like, to the Sea of Rust or something like that.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
You know, it's just like I said, what's Cybertron? It's the G1 cartoon. It's flat.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the G1 cartoon bit about this now.
Yay!
Yeah. Which is more noticeable with the next artist. But I see what you mean. Like, I do like that shot quite a bit. But it is kind of generic sci-fi with a couple of metal tinges. Yeah,
I could see that. Yeah.
Like, especially, like, it's weird. I'm looking at the layout of the city, and I'm just like, I've seen that exact layout before.
Yeah.
That sort of rise in the middle effect, like, and those weird bridges, that's not original.
No.
Like, I'm not saying that they copied.
No, it's just derivative, I suppose.
Yeah. I have issues with the art. Reminds me of the stuff we got in Transformers vs. Visionaries. Not as wonky, but there is some real perspective and off-model moments that are really, really distracting to me. The faces especially. The stuff you pointed out with Bumblebee. Windblade's face annoys me.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is massively inconsistent from page to page.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
From panel to
I
panel.
forgot about that.
Does she have a sticky-out chin, or does she not?
It transforms Mikey.
It's like she's got a really prominent chin, and in the others, like, she's got a more traditional face. Some, the lines on the side of her mouth are really, really prominent. Some they're barely even there. I don't like those lines anyway. I wish they'd go away.
Yep.
But I find it distracting, and it makes the faces very unemotive.
Oddly enough, yeah, like Rubble has one expression seemingly throughout the entire book.
Yeah, like Rubble in this book shows wonder, excitement, fear, doubt, confusion, bunch of other feelings, all with the same expression.
And how would you describe that expression? Because to me, it looks like Rubble is constantly on edge or panicked or worried.
Yeah,
like you've surprised a child, like you've jumped out of a bush and gone,
yeah,
and gone,
that look a baby gives just before it starts crying.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, I'm not being smart. It's like, I've seen that look often enough.
You've caused that look, haven't you, Mikey?
You know, you accidentally scare a child and they just look at you for that second and you're just like, oh no. I also, like, when Windblade goes to examine the station, her expression is, what is that?
Yeah.
She's just like, ah! Like, she's supposed to be going like, okay, B, stay here. We're gonna check this out. And it's more like she's like, oh! Also, her wings are doing something really freaky in that shot. I don't know, like, it's this. We have been feckin' spoiled for artists in the last 5 or 6. Basically, IDW in general had probably the best stable of Transformers artists ever. But this is one of those artists, like, I'm a little concerned to see them on a main book. Hopefully they're, they will improve. They're bound to get a lot more experience. But, people have expectations of of the standard these books set. And I think this is another thing that's hurt by the crossover element, or the fact this is following up from the most critically acclaimed version of Transformers ever.
Yes.
Next up, we have Whitman stuff, which I describe as Casey Collar light. What do you think?
That's interesting.
Like, there's especially the crowd shot, which has like all these generics and then randomly Ruckus. Just like, hey, no one you know, I'm here. No one cares, Ruckus.
I care. No, you don't, Ruckus. Go home, Ruckus. No one loves you.
It's like a less sharp version of a Casey panel. A less well-constructed version. Similarly, a lot of the Optimus and Megatron shots, they're like softer versions of Casey Collar's work. Which is, I don't know. Like, what do you think?
I like it a lot more. I'll say that I much prefer this art to this artist than the other artist. The shapes of the robots are more consistent. The look of them is more consistent. It's maybe a bit too adherent to the toys.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, the thing, like you mentioned very quickly as you were going through the run through, just because the toy has portholes for the toy gimmick and for screws, I don't think that should be a reason to include them on a comic book.
Megatron has the little nubs for the effect parts.
Yeah, like I get it. The idea of this artist is basing the design off the toys. That's fine. I don't mind that at all. It's not the most innovative. It's not the most creative thing you could do, but it's like, okay, that's fine. It's not a bad way to push, if you're trying to do a whole marketing thing and push them as a selling point. Be like, oh, you want to get these toys because they're in the comic, for instance. I've got no issue there. But a little bit here and there where you go, well, we don't need these holes, so let's just cover them up. Let's just get rid of them. Some other little hinks here and there where the joints are. I don't know why, but is it in this one or is it the other one? Let's have it's when Megatron's walking away and Prime's got his hands like, look at my hand. I would be holding an apple here if I could. Yeah. And you can see the hip joint. And it's
my god! He actually has he has ratcheted hips.
Yeah, like it's like, again.
Oh god, it's worse in the shot next to it. Look at him walking away when he's elbowing Ironhide.
Yep.
Oh God, that's really... Now I've seen that, I'm never unseeing that.
And did you see in the previous one, he has a hole just above his hip for where the screw goes?
Yeah, he does.
It's again, I don't mind using the toy designs. Like I say, it's not that creative. But at least just get rid of those bits. Or if you're gonna include them, have a reason. There has to be a reason that they've got so many fucking holes in them. Apart from the
why
fact
is there
that
a hole in your butt? I store things.
Prime, how about you shut up? Why is there a hole in your fucking shoulder, mate? The top of your shoulder. Why is it right there? Is that for a can of soda? Huh? What are you doing?
Stores thing. I really don't like it.
It also gets a bit busy as well with Ironhide.
Yeah. Ironhide's got holes in his chest where you can see where the pin goes and where he folds up and you can put your finger through.
That's not so much the complaint that I had with Ironhide. It's a legit one.
Yeah.
It's a legit one. But the fact is, there's a lot of, like, greebly detail just on him. Like, there's loads on his shoulder, there's loads on his groin, there's loads on his thigh. So this is upping the amount of time that the artist is working on the character models for effectively no reason, because it doesn't add a huge amount, I don't feel. It's just detail there again because it's on the toy. It's like...
Which are overly detailed, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't... It's stuff that you don't need. You're just adding workload for no real
It also,
reason.
like, if you look at the crowd shot, those three really look odd next to this crowd.
Which three? Hang on.
Like, Optimus, Megatron, and Ironhide next to the crowd of protesters.
Yes.
They look like they're from different books.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the crowd looks better because there's not nearly as much greely detail on them, and they don't have random holes in them anyway.
No, they don't have any.
No,
not a one.
No,
not even on Ruckus.
And you know what? A big problem with the movie was the live action movies was they were too bitty. They had too many just bits on them. Do you know what made Bumblebee better? The designs were simpler.
Yep.
I'd say it's not a 1-to-1 comparison here, but it's similar. It's the same idea behind it. It's the same principle.
Also, Megatron looks weirdly simple next to the other two. It's like there's this weird scale. But I have a problem with the toys because I really want to see creative designs and interesting takes.
Yeah.
And I'm a lot less... Like, I want to see toys of comic characters, not toys that are comic characters. Do you know what I mean? I want this Megatron and this Optimus to be so interesting that Hasbro announces they're doing a toy line for it. And you're all just like, yeah, I'm going to get new Optimus. He's going to be great. This is a very Marvel approach to it. Which is, I've made the toy, now advertise the toy, or very Combiner Wars approach to it. And I find it distracting. And the fact they are not even remotely stylized to hide the very obvious toy stuff.
It's such a weird choice.
I can't unsee the hips now. In every shot of Megatron where you can see below his waist, I am just staring. Like, Optimus, because of the way his hips are designed in the toy, it's not as bad. And same with Ironhide, although Ironhide's probably as bad. No, Ironhide's worse in a way, because he's got, like, the floaty waist syndrome you get in actual toys.
Yeah.
But, like, Optimus's backpack sticks out as far as it does in the real toy. Why not make that streamlined? Because it's an okay design choice.
It's fine.
Why don't you fill in the gaps in Ironhide's chest? Why don't you just not have every single screw hole? Like, it's weird. What possible reason could these people have to have this many holes in their body? Like, I don't know. I feel like this is a higher up choice, and it's not one that helps the book, especially, like, when you get the characters who don't have toys in this line. And they're just so much more simple, and it feels like an artist is going to come along in it after this run, and is going to just take such a wildly different approach. I'm also really concerned, and this is genuine, I'm really concerned these books are going to become new toy, new design, new toy, new design, new toy, new design. Like, that is something that has rarely worked.
It was an issue we certainly had and pulled up quite a few times when it happened in the comics. Prior to this, they tried to mush it over, or John tried to mush it over eventually with Starscream's body changes. Just, I like to change my body. It's like, it was a plaster. It was a plaster for the fact that it was just the idea to sell a new toy.
And it really felt. This is when you felt like this is when a higher up is sticking their finger in.
Yeah, I would agree there.
I don't have anything else about the art. Do you?
Not really. I'll certainly take one over the other. Maybe it's the fact that these things will change and improve the more time that they're given, or maybe it'll just be an art style that I
Megatron buys screw hole covers and just there's this niche of him filling in gaps.
Well, do you remember those Planet X toys actually came with their screw hole fillers?
Yeah.
You know, those if you base your designs off those toys, would be fine.
You can't do that, Andy. They're illegal.
That's true.
That's third-party toys have never shown up in a Transformers comic.
No.
Never.
It's probably it's understandable.
Actually, like last time Drift had the body, it was the Mastermind Creations toy.
Oh!
And several, in effect, like Toxitron shows up.
Shut up, Mikey. We'll get the lawyers on us.
So, this issue has been getting 10s, 9s and 10s.
Really? Oh, yep. I wouldn't give it a 9 or a 10.
What would you give it?
I didn't hate it. It wasn't desperately exciting. Didn't think it was terrible. The art kind of was not great, so probably about a 5. It's average. It's, all right. It's not awful. It's just,
Yeah. I would go 6. I was intrigued by the world.
Mm-hmm.
I like the overall concepts. But it doesn't excel at any of them. Like, this is not issue 1 of Mord Meets the Eye, or issue 1 of Robots in Disguise, where I came away, genuinely had to put the book down and go like, wow, what an experience for a first issue. This is the start of a new series, this kind of stuff we've seen before. It's very much not a 10, but I think there's a lot of potential here, and I want to see how it goes. I think if you're looking for action, it'll be a while before we get any. Which we'll see how people react to that. But anyway, we'll move on to issue 2 then. And the book opens with some perspective from Rubble. They've been alive for 41 cycles, and Bumblebee has basically shown them everything. Everything they've learned is from Bumblebee. And this is Rubble's first encounter with death.
The character.
Yeah. The Necrobot just suddenly shows up. Hello.
You're a lot more grim and reapery than I remember.
That would be amazing. I'm actively killing now.
Helping, Mikey. It's called helping.
But yeah, apparently at some point, Rubble, in the past 40 days or so, has asked Bumblebee, "Can I die?" Which
is it a question or is it a plea?
Kill me. But I think that's a fascinating idea, that something's been born, and it's born fully mature, and it's introduced a concept, you will live a very long time, and then it's just like, is it forever, or can it end? Bumblebee's confirmed that they don't die easily. Sometimes they go into hibernation, sometimes they merge with Cybertron, which is an interesting thing. Accidents happen, not all of Cybertron is safe. There is violence. Colony planets and anything else, they're not as safe as Cybertron. Cybertron is as close to perfect as you're going to get. No one has died by the hand of another Cybertronian since before Bumblebee was born. And Rubble learned something new on their 42nd cycle, that Bumblebee doesn't know everything. Bumblebee can be wrong. Bumblebee learned that when he was ruling a planet.
Yeah, I wish there was a line in there being like, yeah, no shit, we knew Bumblebee was kind of trash.
Let me tell you about the time he couldn't keep everything going.
Anything going. Couldn't keep anything going.
He literally did better when he was dead.
Yeah, oh, that is harsh, but it's fucking true, isn't it? Jeez.
Yep.
Well, poor guy.
Speaking of the man himself, he is kind of overwhelmed by the entire scenario, as he, Windblade, and Rubble are joined by Chromia and Prowl. They are, of course, examining Le Baudet. And it looks like, in a bit of a reverse, Chromia is the boss here. They debate what's happened. Was it sabotage? Was it murder? Do they need Taggart? Yeah. Prowl sort of bemuses, like, were the Rise sabotaging something, and Brainstorm interrupted and they overreacted. Chromia, she's open to possibilities. She then inquires, is Rebel okay? And so it says that him and Bumblebee should go away. There's nothing for you here. You need to know this is not the world. Everything's good. We're all happy here. They go off to spend some time with Wheeljack, and Windblade, Chromia, and Prowl stay on the scene. And Chromia suspects, like, was Rubble a potential suspect? Because Chromia is like, we have to, assume everything, because Rubble found the body alone. They go over what happened. They discuss, like, meeting the Voin. And Prowl sort of like, did you, like, ask the Voin if it was licensed for the zone, blah blah blah. And Windblade said, like, I didn't, like, ask it anything. I scared it with a light. Originally I thought she was shooting at it, to be honest, but Prowl points out she's in security and she didn't follow procedure. And then Chromia pulls rank and tells Prowl to take the body and go away. And yeah, Chromia sort of points out that everyone makes mistakes, and if Prowl hadn't made so many, but he probably would have been slightly above her, but he's probably the best investigator, and is he wrong that Windblade maybe should have, done her job? And she's pointing out, like, half of Cybertron's population has been alive to seeing someone else murdered. They have to handle this well, they have to handle it quietly, and they can't afford any mistakes. Orion calls in, and he just wants to sort of update, and he says the Decepticon rally in Tarn is going ahead. Megatron's pulling a larger than average audience. He's not happy with the entire situation, and he looks distinctly less detailed in this art style. Look how squat his head is.
Yeah.
It's really weird. But yeah, so basically they're stretched on two fronts. Chromia, like, you need to investigate this, but if you have anyone spare, get him to Tarn, please, for the love of God. Yeah, and we cut to Rubble and Bumblebee. Bumblebee is, like, checking on him, and Rubble is basically a child being confronted with death, and their reaction is to get excited about everything else. But Bumblebee's trying to comfort him. And then they meet Wheeljack, who is unlike any Wheeljack I know of. He basically, I think this is what Wheeljack would be like if he was David Ogden Stiers.
Who is that?
So he was in MASH. He was in MASH. He was also. Do you remember Stitch, the movie, the Lilo and Stitch?
Yes.
Do you remember the alien doctor?
The big guy who looked a bit like a whale thing.
That was the Ogden Stiers.
Okay.
Someone else suggested Brian Blessed. Like, I think that might be going, like, a hair too far. But basically, this Wheeljack is a lot more of a bombastic, like, he's got to be British. Or at least very posh sounding. But yeah, he's going to introduce Rubble to construction engineering, the highest of callings. And it turns out he's working on the moon. So we find out that 2,000 Cybertronians labored for kilocycles, however that long, to make Termagax's vision of a winged moon which will filter energon from the fabric of space-time and transmit it down to the planet. And Rubble's response is, I don't see any wings. Oh, you will. You will.
It did sound like a threat, didn't it?
Yeah. He's now going to explain the entire thing, and then Rubble notices that there's a small little thing on Wheeljack's foot. It's a skitter, a silicophagous detritivore who lives on Cybertron and eats non-organic material. They're fairly harmless, so they let them do whatever they want. I bet something bad will happen from this.
Yeah.
Because something bad always happens from this. So yeah, they get ready. Wheeljack gets ready to show Rubble around, and he ends up helping out Gears and breaking stuff, and there's gigantic discs. And what is Gears doing?
What? Yeah,
Why? What?
The artwork gets really weird for him in places.
It's like he's a folding chair.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he's mid-transformation, but I don't work... my
It looks
mind
like-
can't figure out how he goes from that kind of sunbed set position
Yeah.
to being an actual truck thing.
It looks like he's that guy who's realized he's got an intern.
In what
Just
sense?
like, yeah, you work away there, Rubble. I'm just gonna stretch the old pipes there. yeah. Bumblebee comes back to save Rubble from complete meltdown. And yeah, they've been going well. And they leave together, and Rubble's very aware of the fact that he hasn't said anything about Brainstorm, but he's really enjoying it. And then he sort of inquires into how Bumblebee is. And Bumblebee feels like the world's tilting, but he's not falling. Like, he needs to get on with things, and the world's not bad. And they go up somewhere high, and they sort of look up at the stars together and sort of discuss things and lay out some of the things that's going on. Free Energon is everywhere, floating around is lumpy. Everything's in flux. Lumpy is a word in this book.
Lumpy.
They discuss the moon. It's not the best way to get her Energon.
Mm.
And Bumblebee starts talking about Brainstorm and then stops. And I will say this is my favorite panel of Bumblebee's face, where he's looking up at the stars next to Rubble. I think that shows some potential there. And then it kind of weirdly shifted when we find out that his face is the size of two normal faces. They discuss the Rise, and we find out that the Ascenticons and the Autobots are not the only factions out there. There's multiple factions, in fact, and the Rise is basically an extreme version of the Ascenticons, who go out and start breaking, stealing, damaging. They're terrorists. They're sort of like property terrorists. For everything you know, they don't kill anyone.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Rubble, that's like, do I have to pick a faction? Just like, no, not if you've any sense. Because
give it time, you will.
too many to choose from. And then, as they look up, the moon opens up and begins sucking in energy from the cosmos. And then Bumblebee confirms that two people jumped off that long ago.
Was it jumped off or fell off?
They say free fell, so that you must jump before you can fall in that case.
Mm.
And Rubble is just sort of consumed by, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I'm 40 days old, so I've seen everything that needs to be seen. And like, Bumblebee actually follows it up, well, you're young.
Then he's like, oh, no, it is actually quite nice. Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Which I think is nice, because Bumblebee, on some level, is jaded to this kind of thing. And for a second there, he's seeing it through Rubble's eyes.
Mm.
We then cut to the Ascenticon rally, and we see that Megatron is being shadowed by Soundwave, and what looks like a weird version of Rapid Run, or one of the train bots from RID.
You might be looking too much into that.
I don't know, but it's just the shapes. Also, someone in there has Star Wings.
Yeah, but not Starscream.
No Screamer yet. Apparently he's going to be a bit different in this run. According to an interview. And Megatron gives his speech, and he says they are feeling constrained, shackled upon not just me, but the entire planet. Something is off. And we find out that Cybertronians are unique, and the Nominous Edict, I think it's called, has been put forward, where Cybertrons have, forgings are, widely spaced. Energon rations are limited to deprive Cybertronians of full strength. And Megatron talks about Termigax and how she said they should unburden themselves, free themselves from the shackles. The Autobots have been in control, they hoard our Energon. And it sounds like the Cybertronians on this world are basically forced into an underpowered state.
It sounds like it. It's kind of danced around a little bit.
Maybe it in terms of, maybe they're like, oh, well, this way we can have a more equal society with organics on our planet. And this is all be very interesting if I wasn't completely distracted by the fact that Soundwave has a giant hole in his chest with a little tape on the inside.
Yeah. Again, slightly distracting.
Oh, very distracting. I can't look away from it. Like, there's a reason it's opaque. But as Megatron's giving his rally, someone takes a pot shot at him. And he's like, who dares? And then he's being shot at from a building window, and he goes like, oh, fuck him up, and jumps at him, crashes through the window, and he's joined by his 2 guards, and yeah, he is not going to stand for this. There will be an answer. There will be an answering for this. I will have an answer. I feel like that should be, there will be a reckoning.
Yeah. Maybe they decided a reckoning was too intense.
So, answering instead?
I mean, to me, that doesn't sound good. That sounds a bit on the silly side, but what else is, I guess?
We haven't talked about the covers much in this as well, but they're cool.
We don't usually talk about covers, to be fair.
No, we don't, but I'll just say some of these are pretty cool, so look at those if you get a chance around the TF Wiki. Andy!
Yes!
Issue 2! What
an anticlimactic end.
What, Megatron jumping through a wall, nothing happening, and then going like, bad
I need
grammar.
an answering.
You'll get a fine answering, alright.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing. If it was a setup assassination, it doesn't look very convincing. If it was a legit assassination, it doesn't have much oomph to it. Because I would have thought, at least from a story writing kind of aspect, if you're gonna have an assassination go off, you're gonna have the person like not killed, but like really heavily injured, to then rally the people around him to be like, oh, they almost turning him into a martyr, where it's just, oh, someone shot Megatron, it did fucking nothing, and now he's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah,
it seems like a bit of a drop the ball.
It feels like it's trying to set like, and Megatron doesn't take any crap, but I'm just like, we know Megatron doesn't take any crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's Megatron. I don't think there has been a Megatron that takes the crap, as it were.
Not even shattered glass.
Yeah, no. This entire, like, part 1 and part 2, very, very slow.
Yes.
This is perhaps even slower, because at least the last issue ended with the murder mystery aspect. And then the murder mystery aspect is kind of pushed again to the side to have more of Rubble going about and learning about the world, so we can learn more about the world. And there's a lot of exposition dumping on, well, how do we get Energon? We get Energon from everywhere. And I'm sure that's not going to have any kind of ecological problems that causes to people outside of Cybertron, or maybe even people on Cybertron. I would imagine that might be something they could do in the future. But it's more Rubble, and it's just more like, I don't really care. And there's not much going on with Megatron either. He just kind of throws out a speech right at the end of the comic, and you go, oh, all right, I'm still not sure what you're fighting for, because I don't think your speech was that clear, personally.
If I was to guess, I think this speech is supposed to set up maybe why he's against organics.
Maybe.
Like I said, I have a feeling this is about what limits to put on Cybertronians so they can interact with the rest of the world.
But you know what your problem is there, Mikey? You think that's what it's about.
Also, Megatron has big gaps in his arms because he has big gaps in his arms in the toy. It's fucking distracting.
It is. So yeah, again, just kind of a bit less. I'll be a bit less friendly with this issue, because we've had you had your setup issue. Now your second issue should be kind of pushing your story forward a bit more, but it feels like it's still slowly paced. So
that's a weird thing with the coloring, where Megatron's eyes are purple.
Are they? Oh shit, they are. Are they? Wait.
Or at least it's like, I think it's supposed to be red, but like, mood lighting.
Oh, is that a glow effect?
But it looks very purple.
I'd also scream, no, no, no. Why is Soundwave's eyes yellow? Because I'm always Soundwave's eyes are red kind of guy.
Soundwave should never have yellow eyes.
Yeah, it was a mistake with the toy. It was a horrible mistake. They fixed it with the cartoon, and unfortunately they keep making the same mistake.
Yeah.
But you're right, it does look better. He always looks more striking with red eyes. It's just, you know.
It's also, like, this is the first of, I think, many actions of this. It's like, when the previous universe had such an effect on you, and a character from that universe shows up that really meant something to you, and just like, see, this is where I slightly sympathize with the whole brainstorm thing. You're just like, oh, you're not him.
Oh, I don't really care. I still don't care about that. It's a new Soundwave. He literally could be in his lamppost mode for the amount of stuff he does in this issue.
Are you sure he's not?
He might be. Might actually be dead. It might just be a dead body there.
This is what happens when you run out of Energon.
Do you know how you disguise someone in this universe? When they die, you just paint them.
Oh man, that would be great. It's like the blue starts chipping off.
Yeah.
He's just grey underneath.
Yeah, and you just get them, I don't know, to like, if they're shot from behind to push their back up against the wall, or like to fold their arms to cover the hole. Just paint them
Ravage
upright.
is like stuck inside him.
Just pouring.
Megatron, let me out! Let me out! Meow! Meow!
Bad kitty.
You'll stay in there till he's done. He's starting to smell.
Good.
Yeah. It's a weirdly paced issue. This really screams to me that someone is writing a 12-part story, not a 12-issue story.
Writing for a trade. That's fine, I guess, but...
It's fine, but again, you are doing your opening story. You need to be grabbing us more.
Yeah.
Like, if you're writing for the trade needs to be like pop, 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 pop.
Which is why I guess usually when they start off with a Transformers story, they usually don't have it set in peacetimes, and then they go back and do the peacetimes because they want to grab your attention quickly.
Yeah, I think this could do that. I think this is something, but it's not... Like, it's so very aware of the fact it's setting up a world that the actual plot, the pacing of the plot is running slower than it should. And like, it's also so aware it's writing long form. Now, I think if they've sensed this will be like 12 issues of multiple stories, like, 4-issue story, 6-issue story, whatever. They won't do that. I'm almost certain they won't be doing that. But the format here is just like not brilliant, I have to admit. I don't think the writing quality's dropped, I should say that. And I'll be honest, I kind of love this Wheeljack. He just like is so not what I was expecting.
No.
Which I love that the disc take in the character is, okay, here's the core elements of the character, and we're ramping up a few bits. And like, I can't hear the cartoon voice. I hear something very different in my head when I'm reading it, and I think that's a good thing.
But he's still got the elements of being Wheeljack still.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
What they could do with Optimus, maybe, if they had any sense. Also, that skittered thing must be at least as big as a person.
It looked rather large. Maybe like it's maybe not human size, but maybe it would come up to most normal people's chest.
Yeah, that thing is going to
like rhino size. Jesus.
Yeah, it would be very weird to me if they dedicate a page to this thing, and it has no function beyond that.
Yeah, that'd be strange. Unless again, it's again just building up like, oh, here's the ecology of the planet.
Yeah, very possible.
But it seems like it's why would you do that? It's not necessary. It's slowing the pace of the story down.
Yep.
Weird.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, this story should be escalating, and instead it's like, okay, now we're pausing. So, in a nice scene, I do like the scene of Bumblebee and Rubble can stare at the sky, and Rubble can kind of comfort his mentor, which is what that scene feels to me like it's about. Like Bumblebee being brought a little bit out of his funk. And that's not bad. Like, I like the scene, and I really like the tone of the scene. I think it's actually a really well crafted scene in terms of its writing. But it's just like, there was a murder, and we're not talking about that, and there's a big rally, and we're not talking about that, but we are having a touching moment between these two characters.
Yeah.
It feels oddly inserted. Like, I could see this scene maybe 2 issues down the road after everything's set up. Like, oh, Bumblebee shocked by the murder. Now Bumblebee shocked by the rally. Now Bumblebee shocked by something else. And I was like, hey, why don't we go look at something pretty? You know, that I kind of might feel better about. I don't know. I feel like I'm being overly critical because I do think you're very much seeing what this, like, elements of what this writer can do. But I really do think they heard 12 issues and made perhaps a mistake in pacing.
I don't think we're being harsh. We're not saying it's the worst book ever or anything like that. We're just being like, it's real slow and it hasn't grabbed us yet. And I think that's perfectly fair to say.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the art?
It's about the same as was before. Same problems that kind of just carry over. So there's nothing much to add, I don't think.
I will say it's our first time seeing toy designs by Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he doesn't, like, at least he doesn't have Prowl's chest sticking out half a mile like it does on the toy.
No, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But I really don't like it in his... because he's got this weird, boxy, almost it's two-dimensional picture, but two-dimensional vibe to the images.
Mm.
And it's like, if in the first shot of Prowl, it's kind of like his waist is twisted weirdly. Do you see that?
Yeah, kinda.
Like, I don't know, like, because it looks like his chest is facing you straight on, and then it's like bent in the middle, like there's a weirdly placed chest joint.
Yeah.
And also like Chromia has too much kibble.
Yeah, certainly.
Chromia is kibble. And also Prowl's chest is angry and won't stop staring at me.
I did notice Chromia's face seemed to change quite a bit as well. Once again.
Yep. Just pick a design.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a design. Like, it just feels like I don't know. I'm sure I know it's difficult to draw non-human faces, but they're so human. They're so human. It shouldn't be that hard.
I think the difficulty is keeping it consistent. I mean, I'm no artist. I can't draw fucking diddly squat, so I feel bad commenting on people's artwork, but we've talked about it before, and we've said many a time that it seems to be like there are certain artists who do Transformers well, and others who have a hard time getting to grips with having to be on model more frequently than maybe they used to.
Yeah. I would like to see Whitman doing stuff that they could use their own designs. I am getting more into their take on Transformers as we go on. I will say their take is very much in what I'd call a safe zone in terms of stylistic choices, but it works for me.
Right.
It's just so incredibly distracting that I can see screw holes and toy joints and joint joints and everything else. Very, very distracting. Yeah, I've got nothing to add except now I can see like the bits where Megatron's legs look like they probably pull up on the toy.
Yeah, you're welcome for knees.
That. It's not just that. Like, look at his knee. Like, you could. There's the shot where he's jumping.
Yep, it's all there.
Yeah. Like that's where you like push and his legs shoot up.
It's a stylistic choice, and it's one.
But it also means like when he's bending his chest like that, looks really weird because that's not something the toy can do.
Yeah.
Anyway. Any other thoughts on this issue?
Not really. Just kind of more but a little bit harsher. So I'd give it a 4 if I was throwing out a mark. Just because I'd like the story to ramp up, and it just feels like we're going on a comfortable,
walk,
boring country journey in the car, and there's nothing to see. And it's like, okay, well, there's nothing inherently terrible about it. It's just a bit boring.
We're having a beautiful time today. Yeah, I would call it okay. I'd say it's a 5.
Yeah, so you've dropped it a point. I've dropped it a point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's our introduction to New Universe. Not exactly blaring, but a long way from terrible.
No, yeah, it could be a lot worse. Obviously, it could be a lot better. It's just kind of at the moment. We'll see where it goes. I mean, that's we talk about Transformers comics. I mean, what else are we gonna do?
I want to talk about robots.
Who?
Robots.
No.
Comics.
No.
Comic robots.
No.
New issue out
only for the Patreon people.
New issue out this week, and I rarely laugh out loud when reading a book, but Jesus Christ. There was a moment, and I was just like... Wait, considering I was sneakily reading it at work, everyone was just like, what you doing there, buddy?
Like, I'm masturbating again. I'm masturbating. Yep.
Oh, semen everywhere.
Oh, I'm such a joker.
Oh, don't look at my books. Not for you.
Hiding atomic robo issues inside of porn magazines. No, it's just a Playboy. Don't look at me.
This is Big Jugs.
Why are there robots in there?
No, it's big rope jugs.
Don't look at me.
Running off screaming, Tesla time! But yeah, you can hear us talk about Atomic Robo some other time, because we're wrapping up, and when we go into the Patreon show, it's time for more Star Trek and Gobbits. But if you want to hear that, of course, you can support us over on Patreon, where you'll get our extended version of this show. You'll also get our Moonbase Woo Woo, our exclusive shows. You'll also get interviews a week early, and you'll get the comic book show a week early. If you don't want to leave us any feedback, guys, it's themoonbase2@gmail.com. You can also send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or on Patreon if you're on there. If you want to contact me, I'm on Twitter as Irish Paleo and YouTube as GVolV3. And Andy, what about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter as CCTFW, on YouTube as Corporate Commander TFW. You can find this podcast on the Moonbase 2 forums, iTunes, Twitter, Libsyn, Facebook, other places that Mikey have said, and YouTube as Moonbase 2 Transformers Podcast. And Mikey did the Patreon thing, so I don't need to. Haha.
Haha.
Hoo-hoo.